Hello, everybody. This is Jeanne-Marie Paynel calling in from San Diego for Voilà Montessori. Hello, Simone. How are you?
Hi, I'm Simone Davies, and I'm from the Montessori Notebook, and I'm here in Amsterdam, where it's very dark and has been since about 4:30 this afternoon. And we've got lots of people who are live on the call. Hi to Asma in India, and Lauren Claire, she's in New Orleans, drinking chocolate, ghee, banana, and flax milk. And Julia is just drinking water in Amsterdam. Belova and Yuan, hello from Colombia, welcome. And Christine, hello from Latvia, very cool. And I put into the chat that I'm drinking my hippie tea. I made a big pot because we've got a very nice conversation about observation coming up. One of our favorite things we like to do, isn't it, Montessori teachers?
Yes. And I just have my water, so there in a very warm San Diego. We're having unusually warm weather and unfortunately bad fires. So
I know, that's so sad. We could send you some snow. We had snow this week.
Yeah. But well, hello everybody. So glad that so many of you are here, and for all of those watching the replay, thank you for also subscribing to the Montessori show. And Simone and I are here to answer all of your questions concerning Montessori, positive discipline, and such. And today, for December, and the last of 2017, we thought we would share our thoughts on observation and help you understand why it's so important and how to use it as a tool to be very attuned to your children. So I know, Simone, you wanted to kind of give some background and an introduction. So why don't you do that?
Yeah, definitely, because I run a Montessori playgroup in Amsterdam where parents come with their children. And lately I've been setting the parents or the adults in the environment some observation tasks, and it's been really interesting to see how it's going. So basically I say we, as Montessori teachers, do 250 hours of observation as part of our training. And we're basically learning how to see children with fresh eyes. Because the way we normally observe a child or watch a child is we analyze and we also have preconceptions about who the child is. We know them very well because they're often our own child, and so we don't see with fresh eyes every day. So what observation does is allows us to be much more objective, sees us a lot more detail, and also allows us to be able to have a little bit of space, time to then respond rather than always just be so reactive. So I think that's a pretty good place to start from.
It is. And to me, it's also the beauty of observation. Like if you really, do it like Maria Montessori has taught us to be that scientific observer. So, as Simone says, it's really without judgment, without preconceived idea, just noticing, just noting what is going on. I think that we are going to be better protectors of their concentration, where we are going to be, not wanting to do things and react, so that if we are kind of taking a step back and just watching what is happening, then we understand better, I think, what they're trying to figure out, what their needs are, and that very important, protection of concentration.
Yeah, definitely. And then ways to observe is ideally you'd have a notebook and you could write down notes. You could write down what time it is so you can keep track of how long they're working with different activities. You could note down the weather, how you're feeling, and those kind of things as well, and the date. If you really don't have a notebook, then just even do it in your head, and it's writing down as if you're like a video camera, recording factual information about what you see. That's what observation to me is anyway. So like, for example, if you just focused on movement, it would be, how are they picking up their puzzle piece? Are they using the pincer, or are they using like their whole hand? Like a very young baby will often pick up sultanas like this. So you're starting to see in much more detail how they do that. Or their gross motor movements, how do they move from sitting and up to standing? It's amazing, I think, watching some of their gymnastics. It's always a surprise.
But that's the trick too, is when you're watching that, to not label it, to not like identify it as what you're perceiving it, but really noting it as, you know, they're putting their right foot forward and their left foot forward, as opposed to they're walking towards something. Like, you don't know where they're walking towards. It's really, they're just walking, or things like that. So really, it takes practice, and that's why I think we do have 250 hours to practice. But I think it is a beautiful daily thing that can be done, you know. And in the notebook, like what Simone mentions, I like to, I mean, the way that we were taught, at least in the primary, is to have a margin on the side where if those thoughts do come up, or the you know, maybe you're having a thought of uneasy or something comes through your mind, have a place to jot it down so that you don't dismiss it. You just jot it down, but that's not part of the actual observation, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I like that self-observation stuff.
Yeah. And that's actually something that that's something I did want to touch upon on observation, because, you know, we talk about observation as observing the children, the environment. I think it's really important to also, you know, look at the environment, like how is the child, you know, dealing with it, or the feedback that the environment is giving back to the child, but also observing ourselves. I think it's a very important thing to be doing, is to be attuned to what is, you know, what is a certain behavior maybe triggering in us, because that is going to also help us be able to deal better with the situations, and to be able to be there for our children.
Yeah, often the Dr. Shafali, who I know you've spoken with, always talks about, she wrote a book called The Conscious Parent, and often the things that come up for us when we're triggered is usually our issue and not the child's issue. So it's something that we need to work on ourselves.
Most often than not, yes. You know, it's really something to be aware that it's really about, you know, what our experience has been, as opposed to, you know, the children come to us completely fresh. They're just wanting to figure things out. So it's really what they're doing. They're not doing it intentionally or to get us upset or anything, but it's important to realize what it's bringing up for us and such. And that's the work that needs to be done, to be really in their presence and such. So,
yeah, definitely. I also printed out a sheet which was given to us in our training, which talks about what we can observe, so things to look out for. And so the headings are movement, communication, and even if they're nonverbal, there's a lot of communication. So it could be crying, or how the way that they turn their head to look, leaning forward with their body, so all the body language, hands up in the air. You know, these are all signs of communication. Feeding. So that could also be even before they're feeding solids, there's breast milk and what time they feed and how long they feed and things like this. And if they are weaning, then you can talk about the types of food and how they eat. Sleep and awake rhythm. So you can also, when they're sleeping, and you think it must be kind of boring, but actually it's fascinating. We can talk about that maybe a bit later. Independence. So how independent are they? What aids and hindrances might be in the environment about independence. The cognitive development, which is a nice technical term for those of you who don't really know that, it's really the types of activities they're choosing and where they're up to. Are they mastering them? Are they too easy, too hard? So that's your peer and adult interactions. Emotional development, that can be like how they deal with separation, or how they deal with sharing and sharing adults and things like this. And clothing can even be a really nice thing to observe, because some clothing can aid movement and others can hinder movement. It also is an aid to independence. So if we choose clothing that is easy to get on and off, can also be interesting. And also if a child shows a preference for their own clothing, some kids have a very clear idea. And Morven's just joined the call. Hi, Morven. Welcome.
So yes, no, that is wonderful, different different ideas to be looking at. But to me, it's really about just picking up on the different nuances. And sometimes, parents will share like some of the things that their children are doing, and that, again, it's oftentimes they're sharing it because it's annoying them, or they don't understand it. And for me, this is where observation comes in, because what is the child doing or trying to figure out? I'm getting an echo for some reason. Sorry.
Okay, this end.
Wait.
It sounds okay at this end. So
okay, perfect. For some reason, I'm hearing myself echo. To me, it was, for example, the other day there was a mother that was complaining because I think it was like three-year-old keeps on going in her closet to take some clothes and try on shoes and things like that. And to me, that is just exploration. That is, the child is telling us what they're interested in. And so it was, well, why don't we create an activity where there are different types of clothing and maybe some, jewelry and some scarves and some shoes that you're no longer using, that at least the child can experience this and master this skill, and they're wanting to dress up. So there's nothing wrong with it. It's just the environment or the way that it's being done is not is not being helpful for the stress of the mother. So let's just observe what the child needs and modify the environment so that both parties are getting their needs met. And that's why, to me, observation is so important.
You get so much information from observation, but I think some parents feel a bit stuck as to what to use the information for. And so at first, the observation might just be to practice being more objective and not analyzing and trying to think a child's a certain way. And I also think that it's very useful even in observing adults, because sometimes we always jump to a conclusion about what someone's doing, and actually maybe you just need to ask a question. But there were the types of notes that people take. For example, it could be like Jeanne-Marie was starting to explain, how they put one foot forward and then another foot forward. It might be that they're holding the paintbrush in a dagger kind of grip. They're moving from their shoulder up and down like this. They have the red paint. They draw us, so you're describing in very detail what's happened. Then they turn to me, they say blah, blah. They come back, then they stop us. You can just write lots and lots of details, like a running commentary, like a video on the wall. And then when I read back what some of the parents write, they do amazing work. Like they've really noted so many more details. They're really pleased that they've seen so much more. And then I noticed that they write something like, they always use their right hand. And then I say, can a video camera see that they always use their right hand? Because that's actually information that you're analyzing and coming to. At the moment, they're using their right hand, but maybe and then often the child will pick something up with their left hand. Just, it's quite funny how it happens. Yes. So look out for words like always, or he tends to, or even he's really liking this toy. Say he's liking the toy. That's a subjective statement because you're analyzing it, but you could say he's smiling, because that's actually what a camera could record, that he's smiling. Or some people say, oh, he's defensive, or he doesn't want to share his toy. How do you know he doesn't want to share his toy? But maybe the body language you're seeing is he's pulling back. Yeah, so then I'd write down he's pulling back away from the other child. Or he has his hand on the toy.
No, very, very good point. And I'm intrigued as to what are some of the prompts that you use with the parents in your environment. Like, do you, every week, is it something specific that you give them to observe, or they're just, you've had a conversation with them before and they're observing everything? So
to start with, if people have never done observation before, and some people have if they've studied psychology or science or pedagogy, but if they have no background, then I give them a quick explanation about what observation is and why we do it. Because without a purpose, it's kind of meaningless. People are just taking notes and it doesn't mean anything and they're not going to get anything out of it. So I always give purpose to what we're doing. And then we focus on one area at a time. So I start with movement. I think movement's easiest to be quite objective about. And so then I explain the types of movements that they can look for, as I kind of said before, the fine motor skills, the gross motor skills, and see how they go with that. And then some parents find that they observe most of the session. They're writing quite a lot. Other people just maybe write for 5 minutes and then put the book away and think, okay, well, at least it's reminding me to do this practice. And some people just write a sentence here and there as they're helping their child in the classroom. So everyone does it at their own level, and they're all getting different things out of it. And then the second week, we look at communication. So nonverbal children, as I said earlier, it's a lot of body language. And then as they move into sounds, what kind of sounds they're making, sometimes when they move into those babbling sentences, and then they get into more words. So in the older children's classes, there's some full sentences that people are writing down, and also maybe what we say back. And then in the third week, we move on to cognitive development, so the activities, and we look at what type of activities the child's choosing, how long they work with them for, and where they are in the work cycle. So I have young children in my class who are still working at the shelf, and then the older children start to bring the work to the table, and then the older children again will start to bringing that work back and pack it away. So it's not my child packs away every time. It's just you get to see every time where they are in that work cycle and where they are today and where they change. And then the last week we do self-observation, and we're just writing down what we say, things that come up for us. And then what I'm doing for the people who've done it before is they move into the advanced version, which is what Montessori teachers do in our training, which is to write as it comes up. So the child's doing something to do with movement, and they turn to say something to you, and then I notice myself that I'm irritated, they've dropped something on the floor, and so it comes all in one. And then what we'll do is compare it 10 weeks later to what they're doing. So does that kind of give you an idea how we do it?
Yes, no, wonderful. And have you, do you know if some of the parents continue doing that at home? That would be my thing. Like if it's given them a taste for that and they continue on.
So while we're waiting for Jeanne-Marie to come back.
I'm here. Hello? Hello, hello. Hello, I'm here.
I'm sorry, Jeanne-Marie, you're breaking up. Could you ask that question again?
I was asking if some of these parents have continued this at home, like if it's become a personal, like they see the benefit of it and continue it on in a daily.
I do have some parents who do, not all of them do. Some of them take their notebook home with them and they work on it. I had 2 fun stories though from last course, and they come with their younger child, and they went home, and one of them has teenagers, and they sat down at dinner, and she said, I'm going to do observation on all of you. And they said, well, can we observe you as well? And so they all did observation on each other, and it was really fascinating.
We are having
how it can give you some more perspective. Also, another one was a family of 4, and she was observing each of the children and saw, like, she thought that one of her children was not so developed in their fine motor skills, and actually when she stepped back, she realized that they'd made an enormous leap, and that, you see much more detail. So that was kind of 2 beautiful things that came up.
That is beautiful.
I've also noticed in the chat that Joanne says he doesn't, but he would like to do it. Julia says, interesting point. I'm not sure which one that was anymore. Sorry, Julia. Pamela said, observation is so fantastic for a valid assessment. Exactly. Yes, so true.
Yes,
and Catherine said that the video is showing okay. Okay, great.
Yes. And I apologize for the bandwidth seems to be not cooperating today. So.
Someone said Mercury is in retrograde, so that can always.
Oh, that's what it is. Let's blame it on Mercury.
So,
good observation there.
Just join us. Sorry, we're late. Was looking forward to this, any of your webinars. Well, you can go back and listen to some of the introduction to the observation. How about we jump into the 2 questions that got sent in?
Yes, please,
and feel free if you have any questions about observation, but maybe even about some other things that are coming up for you, put them in the chat. And if you can't see the chat, you might need to jump onto a laptop or a desktop, because I know on the phones, I'm not sure that the Google chat is visible. So do that as well.
Oh, I've lost you again.
A pen, for example, a loose button. How can I encourage him to give it up without snatching it away from him? I feel like prizing objects out of his fingers is sending the wrong message. However, I would never forgive myself if he poked his eye out when running around with a pen that I should have put away. Many thanks, Bunny.
So I'm sorry, you broke up a little bit at the beginning of it. I just heard the end of it about danger with a pen, or?
Yeah, so she's just worrying. She basically says she does set up a safe environment, but sometimes a pen might be out or a small button. And how can she encourage them to give it back to her without having to prize it out of his hands, because she feels like that's a bad example?
So to me, I mean, it's what we've talked about in the past about really giving them choices. So it's, you know, when you see something that you feel could be of danger. Again, though, you know, this is where observation comes in. Like, is it you that is feeling that it's going to be dangerous, or are they really, you know, using it in a dangerous way? So again, having a moment of observation and not jumping to conclusion that it's going to be harmful, dangerous, and such. And then, as we've talked about before, it's really giving this child a choice. I can't let you, you know, have this right now. It's something dangerous, and I need to you know, help you be safe. Sorry, I was searching for my words, but it's really about being firm and saying, I can't let you walk around with that. It's not safe. Do you want to use this, or do you want to use that? Or do you, you know, would you like to place it back to its place, or give it to me in my hand? So again, being firm, but giving them choices and taking it. If there is a disrespect, or that they're, you know, running away with it, I would definitely hold them, you know, hold them and say, I cannot let you run with that. It is dangerous. I need to keep you safe. Would you like to set it down on the table, or give it to me in my hand? And again, if the choice isn't being made, then it's, I see you're having a hard time making a choice. I'm going to need to take that out of your hand. So you are, you know, you might eventually need to pry it out of their hand, but you've given them enough fair warning and enough time to choose before doing it. And you know, you do need to keep the child safe. So.
Yeah, and I think also just always, whenever we handle children, to remember to use our gentle hands. And so that also sends a message, like, I'm not being rough with you. Oh, I'm going to gently take this out of your hand. I can't let you take that. Is also sending a very gentle message when we really, if it is a safety thing, then I have no hesitation to say, I'm keeping you safe. I'm going to pop that away. Yeah,
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, it goes here. You could also even see if they can get your cooperation. As you say, you observe them. Maybe they've got some scissors. Then I always say, oh, we sit down at the table to work with the scissors. Oh, you don't want to work with the scissors? They go here then on the tray. And so see if they'll actually cooperate, because sometimes they don't want to just be told. But if you say it goes here, you're giving them information. They go, oh, okay, I'll put the scissors down.
Right.
So rather than saying, don't run with the scissors, and they're hearing all those negative things as well. So there's a few of those cooperation tips that we've talked about in past Montessori shows that we could also try as well. Not going on too long, because if they are being dangerous with it, then we just step in calmly and gently, and with, I really like how you set the limit there.
Yes, there's one question in the chat.
As a question in the chat. Oh,
there's a question from a Christine in the chat.
Yeah, I was about to read it.
Okay, how do you deal when you are observing, but the child wants to interact, play, read a book with you? Well, to me, I mean, I would answer with, that's part of the observation. You're just observing that this is what they're doing. They're wanting to sit in your lap and read a book. That's an observation. You know, it's not getting in the way of your observation, because that's what's happening, if that makes sense. So, Simone, do you have something?
You might just put your book away at that moment. Sometimes also when they're asking for feedback and you're writing in your book, sometimes parents kind of say, I feel like I'm not really engaged because I'm so busy writing in my book, and they want my attention. And so I say it's a practice as well of how you can still remain connected to your child and be doing the observation at the same time. And so some things that I like to do is say, they look up at you and they're wanting feedback, and you're like, I'm writing in my book that you just put that piece in the puzzle, you know, and they're actually like, oh, she's writing about me. So they kind of feel like, oh, mum actually is paying attention. So that can also really help. And actually we had a similar question from Kerry, which is the other question that came in live show, and she'd like to know whether the true
terrible aujourd'hui.
On aurait dû start before.
I'm not hearing Simone's question at all.
Oh no!
At all. I totally.
Did anyone else hear the
you
question?
you went
I don't know if it's Jeanne-Marie's connection or my connection now.
You
Do you want me to repeat it?
Yes, please, because I didn't. I mean, I hope other people did, but I didn't.
And whose connection is faulty, because then we can maybe reset it somehow. But I'm
not hearing it. Simone. So
I'm getting Jeanne-Marie in very slow motion.
And I just turned off my camera. I did not hear any of that again. Can you hear me?
Sorry, everybody, about this. A few technical hitches tonight.
Yes.
Don't you worry. Hello to Anka from Romania and AQ. Hi from Toronto. Nice to see you. Jeanne-Marie, you hear?
Now she's even gone. Okay, can you go restart, please? Go, go, go.
Oh, it's going to take 10 minutes.
Go. Oh, no, wait, maybe not. They're doing their own thing. I don't know. I'm not on here anymore.
So let's restart it.
Lost again.
Let's restart it.
Yes, please, okay.
Is anyone there? I'm curious if anyone can hear. Let me see if I can pop out the chat. I hear nothing. Okay. Hang in there, everyone. Okay, I'm going to just keep hosting until, okay. Hi, Diana. Thank you, everyone. And you can see me and you can hear Jeanne-Marie as well. Okay. And now we can't hear each other. That's the only problem. This is going to be an interesting conversation. Oh, how funny. Do you accept more questions? Yes, Julia, please feel free to pop them in the chat. And you can hear Jeanne-Marie telling someone to go and restart the connection. All right, thank you. I'm going to restart my connection. Let's see what happens. Jeanne-Marie messaged me. I'm restarting everything, and we'll be back in 2 minutes. Okay, so she's restarting her connection, and I'm going to just give you some little tap taps. No, I'm really joking. All right, so the question that came in, Kerry, we'll go back to this one, yeah? Oh, you can't hear or see Simone. Oh, how interesting. Okay. We'll get you back online soon, Masood. I'll just type that in. We'll get you back online soon, Masood. Okay. Okay. Let's see how it goes. Oh, it says waiting for people to join this call. I think we're okay though. Okay, so Kerry, it says, I would like to know whether true Montessori observation is dependent on the age of the child. My 21-month-old rarely leaves my side and tends to follow me around. She will only sit down to do activities if I'm sat with her. And at the moment, that involves her getting books and sitting herself on my knee to read to her. Okay, so basically this is very similar to the question that we just had from Christine. And again, we would just observe that she's needing our attention right now. And so we're trying to write or mentally take a note at the same time, right? I'm just going to close down this chat so it's a bit distracting. And but the other things that you can work on is building up some independence with a child who's quite clingy, because around 21 months they can start to play a little bit longer by themselves. Every child's different, obviously, but we can always scaffold skills. So I say accept them for who they are, skills on top. So some things that we could do to build up their independence would be to, when we're playing with them, just meters back from where we normally play. And then also observe ourselves, and are we always leading the play? Like, oh, let's play with this puzzle now, or have you seen this new toy, and kind of leading the play, and instead just sitting back and seeing what takes their interest the most. And then we can also set up our environment to keep following their interests and those kind of things. So letting the child lead would be super a good place to start, I think, as well. Then you can involve the child by telling them what you're doing, like we were saying. So, oh, I'm writing my notes. I'm writing down that you're putting the and so that can sometimes help a child who wants to know what you're doing and why you're writing in the book and why you're not playing with them. Sometimes that's enough because they know what what you're writing in your book is actually about them, so they find that quite interesting as well. Popping out to the kid's kettle, popping out and making the cup of tea and coming back, or building up, going to the toilet, and just little moments of separation, but then they're learning that you go away and you come back. So separation anxiety is normally between like 8 months and 16 months, but that doesn't mean that a 20-month-old something might have happened. They may have been traveling, a parent might be traveling for work, they may have a move coming up or a new baby. That can all impact how this child feels at the moment. So I think that it doesn't hurt to just show them that you come back. If they're also getting dropped off at daycare at the moment, that might also be a trigger. So I'd work on not only observing and keep observing and observe that they want your help, and on the other hand, scaffold some of the skills. So I hope that that helps, Kerry. And let's jump back to the chat and see if anyone else has got any questions. I closed it down and now I can't see it. Jeanne-Marie is, I haven't quite got her back yet. So Jeanne-Marie, there you are. Hi.
Sorry about that. I'm back.
Okay, I think you're back. Awesome. So we have Masood can see us and hear us, and we've got some good questions that have come in as well. So you will skip that last question, Jeanne-Marie, because I did it twice.
Okay.
It crossed over a lot with what we did.
Okay.
So we'll move on to the questions in the chat room. So I'll just scroll back up because one came in before all of that started crashing.
Yes.
How do you deal with, oh, let's go back up here. So we've read Christine's question, and now how to handle a preschooler and a toddler at the same time. For example, when the toddler wants to do the same thing as the preschooler. Would you like to do that one?
So that would be that's a good one. That is the whole sibling. I mean, I'm assuming that these are siblings, but maybe not. To me, I would first try to see if you can gain cooperation from them and asking them what solution they have. I see that you're both wanting to work with the same thing, play with the same thing, and what solutions can you two come up with? So, trying to give them the opportunity to figure things out, as opposed to us stepping in and fixing it and kind of policing it for them. I think that was the question, correct?
Yeah, it says how to handle a preschooler and a toddler at the same time. For example, when the toddler wants to do the same thing as the preschooler.
Right.
So also the other thing is that sometimes they're not capable of doing the thing that the preschooler wants to do. So then I would think, how can I simplify this activity so they can also be involved and have some success? So often, the preschooler might be doing a hammering activity with very small nails and the toddler's really getting frustrated. So I might think, okay, well, maybe I've got some golf tees and some styrofoam and they can hammer into this. Or maybe they're going to get a hammering ball kit that we had small because they want to hammer right now. So I'm always looking at those kind of things as well, how to handle them. The other thing is I have twins that come to my classes and the parents would observe both children. So then if they're looking at Stephen and Bob, for example, then they just write an S and they write something about Stephen, and then when they want to write something about Bob, they just put a B and then they can write something about Bob. So you could do the same with a toddler and a preschool, and you could observe as well what each of them needs right now, because we're trying to treat children individually, uniquely, and what are your needs right now. So yeah, it doesn't mean.
And then sometimes, to answer Masood's question also is, sometimes it's also maybe asking for cooperation. Maybe the older child, explaining like, oh, your younger sister really wants to do the same thing. Do you think you could show her how to do it? I don't know as if she knows how to. So, helping them not make it kind of an issue, but more like something that is worthwhile sharing and that they've mastered something before their younger sibling.
And the other thing is how do you deal with sharing in your house as well? So in our Montessori playgroups, usually the person who's working with an activity can work with it for as long as they like, and they share by taking turns. And are you going to have the same kind of rule at your house where the preschooler gets their chance to finish and then maybe the toddler has a try? So that's also another thing that you should agree and be consistent on. So my children learned very young to say you'll be available soon to the other one, so that they could concentrate and finish their thing as well. So that's something else that can come up when you have a preschooler or a toddler in the same space. Yeah. Yes. Then Gayatri said, hello, Simone and Jenny. Jenny, she called you? Yeah, Jenny. Yeah. So nice to see you. Then AQ asks, how do you deal with a 12-month-old separation anxiety from the mother? And then we started losing everybody. Okay. So do you have any good tips for separation anxiety?
Other than really being compassionate and just knowing, letting them know, I see that you really want to stay, you really want mommy to stay, and I'm going to go do, my work, my errand, whatever, and I trust that you will be well here, and I will see you in just a little bit, and just, being reassuring and that you love them. And, sometimes there can be like a transitional object of something that they can hold on to, but I know that depends on the classroom. Sometimes that's not always allowed, but that can be helpful, something that they can hold on to and maybe put, in a special place in their classroom for a little bit. But to me, those are moments of emotional development, and there's all we can do is just be patient and compassionate and love them up.
Yeah. Oh, there's a big airplane going over. Is that your side or my side?
It is my side. It is.
Yeah.
Did you answer Julia's question? Is that when I was cut off, my 14-month-old?
Oh, that's coming up. We're a bit higher still.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
It will come.
Okay.
I thought it was something else to do with the separation anxiety. Let me think. Before I got distracted. Separation anxiety. About separation anxiety is that the child needs to learn that there are some people who you trust with their care. The
Yes.
signal that you give as the parent, the confidence that you have, this is a safe person that I trust you to stay with, is a really important message to give to the child as you leave. Because if you have any hesitation and doubt yourself, that's also going to be picked up by the child. So that's something that I also would add to the separation anxiety, is how we choose to say goodbye, how confident we feel, and making sure that we do feel really comfortable with the person that we're leaving them with, because we want to see it as a positive interaction that the child's also going to benefit from having other people that love them very much.
Yes, no, that's a very, very, very good point. And to also, again, observe yourself as well, because sometimes that separation anxiety actually comes from us. So, are we leaving our children in the care of people that we truly trust? Are we okay with the separation? I mean, oftentimes I have seen, being in the primary classroom, so these are a little bit older children, sometimes this is the first time that they leave their home and that they leave the care of their primary caregiver. And, sometimes it was more the parents that were anxious, stressed out about this new separation, kind of thinking that their child was going to have a hard time. And when I would tell them, like, oh, the morning went perfect and they didn't even ask about you, was, a kind of relief, but at the same time, a little bit of like, really, they didn't miss me. So, being aware also of what you're bringing to the table in these moments.
Yeah, definitely. Excuse me while I rug up, it's getting a bit chilly. So let's move on to Julia's question, which is, my 14-month-old can't speak yet, but would like to express himself and often screams. If he wants to grab something and he needs help, he just screams louder and louder until he gets it. And that's what he does a lot. Which conclusion could be made from this?
So I would, conclude, like you have, is that he's pre-verbal, he's frustrated, he's wanting to get his point across. But I think this is important for you
as a closing
to
also.
So,
Julia, are you there?
I'm here.
Did you hear the question?
I did.
Oh, good.
I'm answering
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Oh,
I was answering it. You can't hear me?
I couldn't hear you. Okay, now let's start again.
Okay.
Yes, apologies everyone for the technical stuff today.
So I was saying to Julia and to any parents, this is a very, very frustrating time for your pre-verbal child. They know what they want. They have the receptive language, and yet they're not able to express it. So it's really important that you observe where that frustration is coming from, and maybe be able to say, oh, you're really wanting, the cup that is on the table. Can you show me what you want? And maybe let them know that the screaming is also, hurting your ears. Like, can you show me? Can we walk over and you can show me? And let's find other ways to tell me what you need without the screaming, because the screaming is hurting my ears. Or, and then really simple words of saying, of making sure that they know you are understanding them, I think is really the gist of it. And if you don't, just say it, like, I don't know what you want. Can you show me? Can you point at it? Can you walk me over? Tell me. And this is a transition, and it is a very frustrating one for both parties. And I know we talked on another episode about sign language and such. And to me, this is where, sign language would definitely come in, because they would have another method of able to express themselves. But it's a moment of transition. So it's really about, again, that compassion of knowing that they're wanting to express, and it's frustrating because they just can't get the words out. So. Anything you want to add, Simone? Oh, have I lost Simone again? This is just crazy. the Mercury Retrograde in full action. So I'm not sure. Can anybody tell me if they can hear me? And I will just continue with the questions, and hopefully Simone will be back. Can people hear and see Jeanne-Marie? Okay, I'm not seeing anything in the chat. And then I will keep on answering questions because I am seeing myself. Yes, okay, Christine can hear me. Okay, and Christine, that was your question that I was going to get to. So
okay, sorry, Jeanne-Marie, I couldn't hear any of your answer.
So Christine, how much time should I spend playing with my children? Almost 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. I know that some say that children should learn to play by themselves by slowly reducing the playtime with mommy. To me, I mean, I think as much as possible, if you are playing with them and such, and at one point you observe that they are doing fine without you, I would just, get up and get out of the way, or step back and get your observation journal and journal. And to me, one of the phrase that I always like when I'm wanting to step away and observe and not be right there involved is I say, oh, I'm doing my work. Can you choose your work? Or, I'm doing something that I need to do, and, writing, and why don't you show me what you're doing? So that there is really this respect also of what each other needs to be doing. And honestly, Christine, there is no set time of, how much time is good or not. To me, it's really what you're seeing, what you're feeling, what you're enjoying, what you need to get done. Sometimes, we need to get other things done. So at this point, if the child really still wants to be with you, then you invite them into your own activities. And I think that's really the best way. I hope that makes sense. So I hope that answers your question. And so I think I'm by myself now. So we apologize for all of the technical issues we had today. This is the first time that we've had so many, and it's too bad. But I hope that the notion of observation is something to me that is really the foundation of a lot of what we do in Montessori, and especially in the classroom. Is, that is how, as a guide, we are able to know what the next presentation needs to be, or maybe that we need to repeat a presentation because we are observing that the child is, having a challenge, or is misusing it, or it's inappropriate. So this is really a big part of how we're able to always be there for the child at the appropriate moment in time. And so, I really encourage you to be able to do this at home. And, Simone shared a list of what she had, and I had a list that I used to hand to the parents when they would come in and observe in my classroom. I had a chair that was the observation chair. And there, for me, it was more things to look for. And it was this idea of freedom of choice, concentration, joy and comfort and ease, children observing other children, because this is something that we have naturally, this need to observe each other, to figure out how things are doing. I mean, in like the business world, for me, I know I'm watching my colleagues, I'm observing, I'm seeing what's going on, maybe some things I'm going, oh, that's interesting, and other things I go, I would never do that. I mean, it's you're always observing, and you are, you do have your little judgment voice maybe, but it's important to put that aside when we are purely observing, and especially observing the children. So children observing others, children assisting others as well. That's a beautiful thing to observe. So, in the home, it might be the siblings as well. And then there is also problem solving, like, are they able to find solutions on their own? Repetition is something that is necessary for the child to acquire and master a new skill. So we must be very respectful of repetition. And again, oftentimes that's a judgment on our part of, oh my gosh, they're doing that again. It's like, this is an intrinsic need that they have, is to be able to repeat so that they can master a skill. Follow through and clean up. So this is more so with maybe the older children, but I'm sure, Simone has that in her environment as well. So at home, it would be, have you set up the environment in a way that they can clean up, that they have the appropriate tools to be able to clean up? And then self-direction, are they able to do independent play, do some activities on their own? And then children respecting others and their environment. So those were, for me, all of these kind of things that I always encourage parents to observe. So I'm going to look in the chat. I have some new questions. Véronique Paquet, hello, welcome. And hello, we are having trouble similar to Julia. Okay, my 10-month-old has been strongly opposing everything that immobilizes her, notably changing her diaper, getting dressed, putting on winter coat. She screams extremely loud and whistles out of our grasp to stand on her changing table, kicks her feet, no. Of course, wrestling. So this one, Veronique, I'm going to say that this is elimination communication. So this is a whole other topic, but it's a beautiful observation, because oftentimes children are telling us, and the example that you're giving is the changing table. So I am assuming, I'm not observing, I'm assuming that this is part of her way of expressing that she wants to be shown a new way to be eliminating and start having independence. So it is really, this to me is a great observation, and also noticing that your child who's 10 months old is starting to tell you, hey, show me a different way. I don't want to be on the changing table anymore. And this is sometimes a good way to maybe start changing her standing in the bathroom. And why I say standing in the bathroom is because we want to start giving them awareness of where elimination happens, and then, introducing the potty and such. So from what you're saying, from what you're sharing with me, I'm observing that there might be some transition around toilet independence going on this one.
I'm back.
Hello, Simone, you are back. I don't know what is going on here today. This is the first time we have had so much.
I know, I'm using my mobile phone to get some internet because the Wi-Fi just completely died. So I think it's a really interesting question. And I think that sometimes as well, the 10-month-old is trying to say, I want to be a bit more involved in this. So I like how you said, like, maybe it starts to stand them up as they're changing because they don't like to be laid flat, or would you like to wear this shirt or this shirt? And so it's not just about toileting, but there's a refusal to put on the coat. So how can we set up things so they can have some more access and feel involved, and talking through, making sure that we're telling them exactly what we're doing. We're going to put your coat on now, and just hesitating so that they have time to process what we've said, and then you get a reaction from them as well. So even those basic things, just to make sure that they're all happening, they may be. And if we sometimes have to put on their coat, it's a little bit like us having to take that toy away that's not safe. It's like, and I'm putting on your coat now because we're leaving. Yeah, you don't like it, you're pulling your hand away. And we really do it as a last resort, except that it just gives a clear message to them that we are going to. And their confidence that we have when we can stay calm and relaxed even when they're melting down is really helpful to the child.
And you know, with that coat thing is also just saying, oh, would you, you know, do you want to help me and put your hand in? So, you know, I know Veronique says, but she's too young to do it alone, but she's not too young to start learning what are going to be the steps that are going to bring her to independence. So, you know, as much as possible, communicating to her what you are doing so that she can really start helping you, and knowing that these moments are maybe taking a little bit longer, you know, now is maybe giving yourself a little bit more time so you don't get, you know, also stressed out. So again, observing the reactions that it's bringing to you as well.
Yeah. So, Jeanne-Marie, we're already up to 5 to 9. So I know that we're running out of time. Are there any other questions that came in that we haven't addressed? And maybe there's a chance to.
No, other than Christine saying that we are amazing, and that we have inspired her. So thank you, Christine, because even with all this technical, you know, things, but thank you. These have been just delightful to do, and just the feedback that we have received from all of you. I know thanks to the Montessori show, I have met people, and I've, you know, talked to them personally and such, and it's just great, you know, for one to spend time with you, Simone, and to, you know, share what we are so passionate about, which is Montessori. So
yeah, I love it as well. It's really, really fun. And Veronique said, thank you. 10 months seems awfully early, but that's a very interesting take. I'll definitely try and communicate more. Yeah.
Good. Perfect. Yes. And let us know, give us an update, because to me, you know, we think that we're, you know, giving these suggestions, and we're giving suggestions from, you know, experience with a lot of 10-month-olds that, you know, we've seen and such, but would love to get, you know, your keep us updated, whether it's on, you know, our Facebook, one of our Facebooks, or through email would be wonderful.
Yeah. Also, I'd love to hear how people go with the observations. So maybe buy yourself a notebook, a little cheap one, and have it to hand and just start noting it down. I think maybe the easiest to not feel overwhelmed is to start with one thing at a time, like with movement, and then add communication, and then how long they're working with activities and which activities they're choosing and mastering and things like that. So we'd love to hear how that goes. I also had a quick update at this end. This afternoon, I rented a car and went out to the printers near about half an hour outside of Amsterdam, and went and saw my book being printed, which is so exciting. So for those of you who don't know, I wrote a book this year called The Montessori Toddler, and it's going to be available from February, and we put it on Kickstarter and sold over 1,000 copies already. So those are getting printed at the moment, which is super exciting. And there's a few pre-order options still available, and then we'll get it. I'm working out how to get it into Amazon and things like this at the moment. So that's also super fun.
That is very exciting. And can we still order it? Like, can you share that link with us in the email that you'll send out?
I will, yes. There's still a pre-order option, but it's going to close by the end of, very soon, because we have to close the orders to get the shipping done. And then it will be available on things like Amazon and things like that.
And I will share with you also a little handout that I used to give the parents when they came into the classroom for observation. And
great.
That might be helpful. And then my news over here is I started a few weeks ago the Montessori Parenting Toolbox, which is a 5-week virtual course and virtual community, and it has been great. I have a few parents that I've basically sending videos, and then do a Q&A, question and answer live every week. And I will be doing this again. So I will be sharing that information with all of you, but I will most probably starting a new one in the beginning of February. So if anybody is interested, let me know, and or sign up to my newsletter so that you can stay updated when the new season, or of course, will be.
Cool. And Julia says, thanks, great ideas to practice. Lauren Claire asks if we've done a potty training Montessori way show. And I think we did was it the last one that we did toileting? It covered eating and toileting.
I know we did one. It was a while back, but let me see. I can see I'm on our channel right here.
All right. And Veronique says, will do. Certainly, thank you so much. That was to keeping us updated. Anka says, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you. Thank you for your great work. Christina asked if the book's in English or Dutch, and it's in English at the moment, and we're hoping to translate it at some point, but I'm not sure. Let's just get it done in English first. And Julia said, can't wait to get my copy. I know, it's so exciting. And Masood said, how much time shall I spend with my 4.9-year-old, 3-year-old, and 1.2-year-old? Because when I'm with my 4.9-year-old, my daughter will be like, come, would you do this activity? And then my 1.2-year-old will be screaming for attention. So I think, Masood, it's a really, I'm saying the wrong name. It's now, I've lost your name, sorry. I think it's SM. Yeah, and she said it was SM from India, I think, initially. I'm not sure. Actually, yeah, it is Masood, but I think they said their name was different. It doesn't matter. Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
But, I think we should quickly answer this before we go. We'll make this the last question. And it sounds like you can't be playing with everyone. And so maybe taking a seat back and being like the leader of the family could be like an approach. Or teaching everyone that we take our turns, or that we're all playing together as a family. But maybe at the moment it sounds like everyone needs you. And so to work on becoming a little bit more, not having to entertain them, but you're setting up the environment so that they have activities that will engage them. You can, of course, we want to play with our children at certain points. It's not that Montessori is like hands off, but when you see them all pulling at you, it sounds like that the kids just need a little bit of help to gain some independence, and some activities probably that engage them, so that you can meet all of their needs, but just by supporting them and stepping in to help them a little bit, and then stepping back again to observe. And then, sometimes you'll all get out and play a game together. But what do you think, Jeanne-Marie?
Well, I mean, to me, what I got from that too is, if she's already involved with one child and another child, wants her attention, I think it's okay to say, I know you want me to play with you right now, and I'm working with your sister or your brother, and I'm going to, help you with whatever you want, or have them come sit next to you and such, and just acknowledge that they want to play. And the screaming, you can very well say, and I hear you, and that I hear you, I'll be right there, like, to maybe damper on the screaming. It's just acknowledging that they want you and they want your attention. So I think if you can acknowledge that, it will be fine. And then I did find the one on toileting. It is called Eating, Sleeping, and Toileting Montessori Style.
And which
so if anybody wants to refer back to it, it was in October. Yeah,
perfect. And one other thing for Asma, she's using her husband's login. That's why we kind of got confused with the names.
Okay.
So also that you can get them to put their hand on your shoulder to say that, so that that they have something important that they want to tell you. And then they also will learn that they get their turn, so they don't have to shout and everyone's pulling at you, that they know that there's a system in place. Oh, you want to put your hand on my shoulder? And the other thing that I like to do is, every time they put their hand on my shoulder and it's something like, oh, I need some help with the scissors to cut this string. And next time I think, oh, how can I actually make the string already available to them so they can help themselves more? So always looking to the environment to maybe save us a little bit of work as well. So there are
Yes.
some things to get you
Yes.
started, and we're curious. You'll have to jump onto the call in the new year, and everyone let us know how you're going with the toileting and getting dressed and observation notes and having 3 children all wanting your help at the same time.
Yes.
Jeanne-Marie, it's
Alrighty.
been a pleasure chatting to you. I hope you have a lovely end of year and new year, however you choose to celebrate. Will you be relaxing with family?
Yes, most probably going out to the desert for a couple of days. And other than that, we are enjoying the summer weather that we are having here in Southern California.
So wishing you all a very happy end of year, and we'll see you in the new year. We'll keep you posted when the next show is.
Yes. Alrighty. Take care, everybody.
Take care. Bye-bye.